had a chance to work for a couple of unions on a couple of different jobs, and I loved it because I knew I was going to get buku money. And they had these silly rules that I felt guilty, but it wasn't anything that I did. It was what the person in charge of me did. Is if you work like an extra 10 minutes, you can get paid like for lunch and like an extra 2 or 4 hours or something like that. But then that's like turns into double overtime. So you wind up making $100 for pushing a broom around an extra 10 minutes that didn't need to be pushed around. That's the games, in my experience, that we played. Mm-hmm. And okay. If the tax payers are paying for it, then it's really unfair.
It's something that we definitely would, there's going to be a few individuals that abuse the system, and I think. Well,
I saw it all the time when I was
and you want to be able to, hope that, at least myself, that most people are honest and they're going to, do their day's work and come home and, things like that. But yes, it is probably more prevalent, you would say, within that environment because it is structured, protected, and it leaves decisions out of the hands of the employers to actually make rules and change those rules, or to at least help control their costs when dealing with things like that. So,
well, God bless the honest ones.
Yes.
God bless the honest ones. But we have a big problem because people wind up expecting things that aren't really fair for them to expect.
I think the adherence to our platform as a Republican Party is important to us. While it may or may,
Well, you want to talk about the platform? It's a lot of us. Most of the people in the polls are concerned about the fiscal thing, but I'm very concerned, and I know there's tons of people also that are very concerned about the moral values of our nation, of the president right now. I mean, abortion. He gave $50 million his very first day in office to go overseas. I mean, he's not just wanting to fund the poor, young women that get pregnant, in the United States. Now he wants to send our money overseas, and there's probably 50 people out of a job that would have loved to have each received $1 million, and instead of that money going overseas.
Sure.
So,
I think first, like you say, obviously fiscal issues, they're very black and white to folks, and they're very easy to deal with.
Yeah.
But when you get to a value, like you say, being pro-life, and that's what Republicans need to be, and hopefully agree upon those principles that are in that platform. That those things, I think, are issues that go to the core being of a person and can actually show what the goodness and the eternal value that our principles and values will always stand, regardless of the person that's in power now or that will come or has been in the past. And those eternal truths that we hold will always be around.
Now, one thing the Republican platform still adheres to is, one nation under God. We still we have God. I think that's the number one ideal in our platform. And the Democratic Party, they pulled that out because it was I assume it's because it was inconvenient, because they couldn't have God in there and cater to all these special interests that they wanted to cater to, Planned Parenthood or the homosexual, lobbyists. I mean, you just God and those type of things just don't mix.
Yeah.
How about the Second Amendment?
The Second Amendment, that is one issue. I think down here in Yamhill County, we have a very good sheriff that is adamant about protecting our rights to carry concealed weapons, will not turn over the list. I've seen some suggested legislation at the state level that is going to open that list up to let people know who's carrying, which kind of probably would not be in the best interest of the state to pass. I think that is an inherent right that people were given by the founders so that they can not protect themselves, but also protect their their country
Yeah.
from, outside or foreign interests that are being crept in, that, again, those eternal values that we were formed under don't, that kind of go against those things.
Hitler left Switzerland alone in World War II because each household, I was told, had to carry a gun. It was almost a law that they had to carry a gun because that was their army. I think Israel might have that
That would be interesting.
condition too. But if we forfeited our Second Amendment rights, it would allow the federal government to do anything they wanted to us, which is why we have that right.
Yeah, I mean, you would, without that self-protection that you would have, I think that you would basically dissolve into, like a police state.
Yeah.
Where the federal government now carries the ability to almost do what it wants at will, without
Yeah.
your protection.
And can you talk to the people who tend to, let's say they're voting Democrat because of education, which is a silly thing because Republicans want education, but because the media has touted Democrats as being big on education, a lot of people will vote for the Ds.
Yeah.
Down the list, they'll vote for Obama for president, D. But then they'll still be pro Second Amendment, pro Constitution for that matter. Those things don't mix. Can you talk about the dangers of?
Well, I
that?
think when you look at issues like education, I mean, everybody is going to say, yeah, our kids deserve an education, a good education, but how does that education come about? It's primarily the responsibility of the parents to bring that education, whether it's in a public sector school, a private school, whatever. One of the big things is that Republicans would view school choice as a very good item for
our tax dollars.
Yeah.
Why don't we get a choice?
Why can't I send my kid to a charter school or a virtual school instead of the public school that might be failing my child right now? There's obviously some good public sector schools, and families tend to move to those areas to put their kids in those schools. But other than that leaves a lot of children in failing schools, and so it kind of really puts a real huge divide between the successful ones and the ones that aren't succeeding.
Yeah, and it's just not fair.
But education is not, like you're saying, a Democrat or a Republican, ideal, and you shouldn't just say, oh, well, that person's a Democrat and he believes in education. Well, that's not necessarily true. We need to, as Republicans, offer these alternatives like virtual schools and charter schools and things like that, and try to work with, if Yamhill County wants, a charter school, and that's something where the local Republican Party can help by getting some people involved, then that's what we should be doing. We should be helping those people so that they have their choices and their individual freedoms to do what they want.
Is the county able to actually offer that?
That is a district by district choice. So if McMinnville School District decided that they wanted to charter a school, they have the ability, the board does have the ability to say, yeah, we will put a pilot program together for a charter school.
Well, what do the
And
viewers do? If they say, hey, I'm first place, I'm paying a load of money, bucket of money to send my kid to private school, and I would like to...
the first thing to do is get to the school board meeting, get to know those school board officials.
in the public school.
In the public school sector, because those are the people that are going to be making the decision. The next thing to do is to do a little bit of research about what it's going to cost to create the charter school itself. It may only need to start with a small minimal amount. Again, the best plan and approach to take to the district would be something of taking it, hey, let's try a pilot program, see if this is something that families and educators want in this area. And if that works well, then I think the cost benefits and both dollars and education to children is enormous, because the school district is going to have a charter school that doesn't have employees that are kind of tied to, again, going back to a union.
The union, yeah.
And it will be always striving to better itself, and it will attract more teachers, better teachers into that school
Yeah.
and things like that. So
Yeah, well, the other schools have
it's-
to do better, otherwise the unions will be after them and say, see,
Yeah.
see, so
Yeah.
competition, choice and competition. Isn't
Yeah.
that what we heard?
Yeah.
Choice and competition.
Yes.